You don't secure or procure consensus or cooperation through intimidation, persecution, bullying, mass-slinging, or insult. You don't. You want to build cooperation and consensus. You won't get my, if you think that you want to intimidate me or you want to vilify me, I'm sorry, I won't give you my cooperation. And they should know
But that
that.
is most likely, assuming you disagree with them and the perception is that the arms will be twisted to get what they want. Some of your members of parliament are facing court cases. The speaker recently had military personnel withdrawn in some controversial circumstances. Do you foresee this as
no,
an agenda that
no,
you need to fight today?
no person is above the law, and no person should be protected against the rule of law. My disappointment in President Nana Addo Dankwa, I mean, if you say that you are trying people for procurement breaches, we have the Sputnik procurement, which was in breach. We have Frontiers Health Services at the Kotoka International Airport. We didn't even go through procurement. So what about that? So that only gives us room to be convinced that there's a selective justice applicable to some, not applicable to others. And therefore, we may be a convenient target. But I won't comment further on it. We are not above the law. They ought to hold people accountable. They can do that. But not when in your face. When in this country, when Shiraj came out with a report on a public officer with huge sums of money in his account, what has happened to it?
You are talking about the public procurement authority.
What has happened to it? Under his watch, nothing. The energy sector, the scandal, the electricity company, PDS.
Yes, PDS.
What has happened? Even up till today, they can't reconcile their account. They don't know what is happening. Nobody suffered. The oil bust. Nothing happened. COVID. I dare people who believe that they are against graft and corruption to authorize a forensic audit into every COVID experiment.
But your side is on.
We will move a
on
motion
record
on it
to-
tomorrow.
Okay.
We are working on it between tomorrow and early next week. We should get it done. There was a case during the budget hearing where, for instance, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, 65 million COVID spent. The ministry didn't know anything about it. And finance had to come in and explain. Passengers came, who came? It's Minister of Finance and Procurement entity for Foreign Affairs. That happened. 65 million. Even on e-levy, you have heard the fraud already. 241 million, $40 million being set aside to build infrastructure. What infrastructure? That's completely fraudulent. MTN doesn't need any infrastructure to take this levy. But you've set aside 241 million. You know how many schools that can build? You know how many clinics that can build? In the name of an infrastructure, MTN was charging based on wallet, on electronic money, not persons, not transactions, on wallet, P2P, depending whether it was cash in or cash out. So e-levy, the animal called e-levy, I don't get it. I don't understand
your hands tied? Because sometimes you get the impression from those who feel you can go a step further, suggesting that you blow hot and cold, you raise the issues, and then they fizzle out, and then we move on.
No, it's not true. You know, for instance, if you want to tax and you take ordinary people out of it, so at some point I even said that adjust the threshold so that ordinary people who send 200, 300 will not be affected.
As Lewusu says, if you take 100 cities,
Yeah, you are rich.
You are a rich person.
That's a concept of rich. How I wish you read the UN poverty definition of persons who are below it. So I trust that what Bagbin is seeking to do is to strengthen Parliament, and he needs our support, both majority and minority. He is saying that why are you spending 90% of your GDP only on the executive in terms of budgetary allocation? Give some to the other organ, Parliament, share some with the judiciary, even if it means 2 to 5% of GDP. So conceptually, this is what he means. So if you hear a figure of 1.2 billion, 1.7 billion, he is looking at the allocation to the executive against other allocations to parliament
other
as an
arms of
organ
government.
and judiciary. That has been so.
Okay.